AT&T just reporting earnings. It looks like the company is coming in with earnings on an adjusted basis of 89 cents a share. That's right in line with expectations. Same story for revenue, $44.9 billion, also in line with expectations. Randall Stephenson, the chairman and CEO, making some comments and saying that at this point they're on track to deliver on all of their 2019 priorities. He said we continue to pay down debt and are more confident than ever that we will meet our year-end deleveraging goal. And we'll take a look at buying back stock. That's a big issue. Mike Santoli is here, kind of looking at these things, and probably debt is the biggest issue.
$6.8 billion. Is that about what?
$6.8 billion is
net debt reduced.
Right, net debt. Right.
$6.8 billion. That's a pretty good number, right? But it's a big number.
Yeah, I think that's been the big piece of discipline and what they've been targeting for this year. And so, on track for that is good. I think that for stockholders, it's kind of like, okay, what does that mean for the rest of the strategy? And that's
maybe just to mention that they'd be looking at buying back stock.
Yeah, in other words, they feel like they're going to get past this point where they have to really focus on debt reduction, and obviously you'd have some cash left over after the dividend, of course, to buy back some stock. Be a positive. I think there's a lot of stuff outside the numbers now with AT&T, right? Because it's a media company. What's the strategy with the HBO streaming product? Right. And really, pay TV sub losses is a big story right now, and DirecTV and how that's all.
I mean, if you knew the dividend was safe.
Yes, if you knew the dividend was safe and covered and qualified.
6.3%, and maybe some upside to the stock. They have great assets. It just depends on what you what you pay for assets and whether you can service the debt. Once you realize, if you feel comfortable with that.
If you feel comfortable with it, and they're going to continue to earn it and cover it, right? It's not always tax.
I mean, everybody who's in the 10-year would be in AT&T, would they not?
You would think so, which is almost why when you see a yield that high, you have to ask, what's the market determined at this point?
But we just sort of determined that maybe the dividend was safe.
It's become less of a automatic operating company now that it has owned DirecTV and Time Warner, right? It's not the same as it was, where it's just kind of a clockwork, utility type earnings.
But it has plenty of skeptics, and I just wonder whether the skeptics are justified in ways that when. I know Randall. I talked to him. He seems to think the skeptics are like all CEOs, obviously. Yeah. But a lot of times he's like, it's just, and I don't know what causes people to be so skeptical.
I think the question is, you're going to have this HBO Max product that's going to start in spring of 2020.
Good managers there. Stanky's doing that.
The question going into that was always it was a view that from a pricing perspective, you'd be able to capture $4, $5, $6 from this new product. Now, given where Disney is on the $6.99 product, there's a view that you might be able to capture $1 or $2. So whatever HBO Max is, maybe it's $1 or $2 or $3 more maximum, frankly, over and above the other.
There's no commentary in this release talking about the pricing on that. But HBO Now is $14.99, but we do anticipate we'll potentially hear more about that on the earnings call today.
But assuming it's let's say so we're at $14.99 now. Let's say you go $3 more to $18. It's very hard to think you can actually go meaningfully above that, given the amount of content that's available relative to Netflix, relative to everybody else. And so when you said, what's the expectation? I think the expectation going into the transaction was you'd be able to actually create more dollar volume on each sub than you currently are. So you asked why there's people who are out there who are skeptical. I'm not sure they're right or wrong. I'm just saying this is the math.
Yeah, there's a lot more uncertain kind of execution risk in the longer-term strategy than there used to be for the business. And DirecTV was not a good deal, right? And so I think that they're working that off.
That was the only bridge to the deal that they finally got. Is that not true?
Well, is it that, or that DirecTV was like, well, we can't make it work. We have to find some content.
I think that scale but that scale was what allowed them to.
I don't think anyone thinks at this point in retrospect that Time Warner went for a crazy price. I don't think that it was a real overpay, given really what Disney ended up paying for Fox, et cetera.
Right. Some other comments from Randall Stephenson. He said, our FirstNet build is not only running ahead of schedule, it's becoming a driver of our wireless network leadership and speed, reliability, and network performance. He also says it's there to have nationwide commercially available 5G coverage in the first half of 2020.
Yep. So I was going to say 5G and then Sprint T-Mobile, the other parts that you want to hear from them about in terms of what it means for the core business.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a real question of what nationwide coverage, though, of 5G really represents. Right, if you look at what's going on in some of the cities where they're doing it, they're getting super, super fast speeds, but it's not blanketing the place.
Right.
And it's very challenging to do that.
It's going to probably feel like it did in the earlier days of wireless, where it really mattered what network you had in what region, and the whole roaming stuff. Remember that? When it was
I don't know
really
if you saw that.
And that was not that long ago.
No,
honestly.
you're right.
I don't know if you saw the test that the Wall Street Journal did last week to actually check these 5G networks. In most cases, because of the way 5G works currently, and this is why I'm somewhat skeptical about how quickly this is all going to roll out, they're literally the phones become so hot that they actually have to put them in ice packs. Literally
because
just
it's working so hard
just to keep the 5G rolling, you have to actually ice the phone because the phone's going over 100 degrees every single time. So there's both a hardware issue that has to be worked out. There's a bit of a software. There's a bit of a cell tower. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to happen to get to where we want to be.